Hello everyone, welcome back. Good evening. Hope you guys are doing great. Today is, well, this is episode 372, first of all. I numbered these episodes for a reason. There's literally no reason. And it's a Saturday, so for whatever reason, we had a little pump, a little one. Other altcoins a little more than I would have liked. I'm not complaining, but, why are we getting a pump on a Saturday, right? Bit suspicious, but the crypto market is 24/7 also for a reason, so you're allowed to. You have the freedom to do so if you so choose to do so. That is a pump, not a dump. You don't have my permission to dump. Happy Saturday, Greg. Welcome. I am tired. Some guy spiked my cortisol at work today, but whatever. We're not going to let that bother us. We have Bitcoin at $69,500. Nice. Very small rise today. We hit a high today of 70,528. That looks good. We're approaching this, downtrend invalidation at 72,500. I expect for something to happen next week. If we do get a rise from it, some altcoins are already ahead of the game, believe it or not. Some of them have already broken their little downtrends that they have had. Do I expect a huge rise from them? Probably not. And it all really depends on what Bitcoin does. If Bitcoin manages to, like I've said in previous streams, not rise above 72,500 as of right now, come on, can I draw a straight line? Then you shouldn't expect altcoins to maintain or sustain whatever uptrends that they have started off, right? We saw Hedera do an early move yesterday. We are seeing Sui currently making a move. Well, that's not what I wanted to do. Breaking out of whatever downtrend we have here. Looking like it's wanting to start a new uptrend. I'm not complaining, like I said, but I think it's a little too early. And BitTensor also, we caught the move yesterday. I predicted a rise to 200. We basically did get that. We got a wick over here, which shows rejection of the continuation toward the upside, and we're kind of flattening out right over here at 189 for BitTensor. I know I'm jumping around all over the place, but it's for a good reason. 190 is the current price of BitTensor. We hit a high of 208. Lovely. But can this be sustained? And that is why I'm bringing all of this up. As of right now, it really depends on what Bitcoin does. So if these altcoins can continue making whatever higher highs, higher lows to continue whatever uptrend that they have started, Bitcoin's going to have to make a move toward the upside, breaking this 72,500 level as well. How much higher can we go? I don't know. I really want to say maybe around 80,000 or whatever new pivot level gets generated. If it's slightly below that, maybe 78, 79,000. We'll see by tomorrow's stream, so stay tuned for that. And, I mean, either way, if we are expecting a move like this on Bitcoin, what would I do? I would be nervous to sell, but I feel like I probably would want to, right? If this is going to be a prolonged bear market for a few months, yeah, I might not want to really be in here, especially because everybody is calling for 50,000, 40, 30,000 Bitcoin. I don't want their comments to get to me or to conflict with my analysis. But, I mean, my analysis has been wrong in the past. I'm not perfect. Nobody's was. If you predicted 60k drop, let me subscribe to your channel. Like, I would have never really guessed it. I would have guessed, I was close enough, I guess. 66,000 was my bet. And I put my money where my mouth is. I dropped my last bit of pennies right over there. This was literally a tiny buy, so that doesn't count. At 66,800 was my final purchase on Bitcoin, and I went all in at that price, which drops my average price, because I've been DCAing since 90,000. Anything below 90,000, it's now dropped to 80,000, my average price. And here we are barely struggling to keep above 70,000. So that is why if we do manage to, break whatever downtrend this is and start a decent uptrend going, I do obviously know that 80,000 will be an important resistance. We've got a downtrend line there. It's 80,000. It's also my entry level. The big dogs know where my entry price is. They watch my streams. They will not want Bitcoin to rise above it. So I'm going to, if price approaches, likely sell off even if it's a tiny bit of a loss. And if I'm wrong, and if this thing moons the next day, then, you know, congrats. I don't know what else to tell you. Or maybe I'll use a stop loss if I want to play it safe, giving it enough time, right? If I do see a rise, like, actually go above 80,000 non-stop, I'm just going to put a stop loss over here instead. And, you know, if price kind of like comes down and continues lower, then I would have been stopped out at basically break even. My break even price on this is 80,500. So I've got enough, you know, room. But if, you know, I am wrong and this thing continues rising, well, my stop loss is here. My position is still open at 80,000 and I would be making profit on whatever the rise on Bitcoin is. That is if and only if Bitcoin does rise. As of right now, it's not probable. I'm thinking that this is more likely for the time being. Because in effect, we still are in a downtrend. But I don't know. A lot of other altcoins are giving an early signal. But I feel like that's just because they've been way too oversold for such a long time. That this is like the most dead of a dead cat bounce that you can get from these alts. So I don't expect them to be sustained. Especially if Bitcoin does not break above 72,500. That's my thoughts. That's my analysis on it all. Let's just go ahead and, well, that's not, what, how did this happen? I guess I highlighted P and clicked search. Okay, moving on. I wanted to click on Ethereum. Staying above 2,000 is neat. Similar situation to Bitcoin. Very similar, right? In Ethereum's case, it's 2,150 that I want to see it break out of, which Bitcoin going above 72,500 is the equivalent to Ethereum going above 2,150. And how high could we go from there? Maybe 2,400. That's like the 80,000 equivalent to Bitcoin is what I'm seeing from here. All really depends on what Bitcoin does. So, yeah. I would like to see Ethereum hold above 2,000, of course. I don't want to see it drop lower. Nobody does. But if the downtrend does continue, then, I don't know. We'll have to wait for new support levels as well. That's another thing that I want to wait for tomorrow for. And we'll see how things go. I don't know. I'm a bit of a wacky mood today because I feel like I didn't get enough sleep. Although I did sleep. But I also, I don't know, working on a Saturday. I woke up early to shovel snow. Oh no, poor kid. And then, like, I don't know, I'm also a little happy because Monday there's no work. Because it's family day. Today's Valentine's Day or something, I don't know. Nobody wished me anything, so, you know, that's fine. Anyways, not that I was expecting that. All going according to plan, you know? Anyways. Moving on, let's go to Solana. Solana, very, very close, right over here. About to flip that trend over. Also trying to kind of get ahead of the move. But like I said, it all really depends on what Bitcoin does. Current price of Solana is 88. 88.61 is where the downtrend invalidates at least this temporary one. The rise should expect us to, I don't know, somewhere near 100 plus. I really want to see how that goes. Hey, thank you, Greg. Thanks for the Valentine's Day wish. Yep, so all Bitcoin dependent mainly. For support levels as of right now, I mean, I'd still point toward our local bottoms that we just had. In Solana's case, that's 67 still. In Bitcoin's case, that was 60,000. In Ethereum's case, that was 1,750. So that's all I see for here for now. Hyperliquid staying above 30 is awesome. Current price is 31.29. Super trend is still on the rise and validating at 27.26. I like what I'm seeing so far. Hyperliquid has just been holding strong despite everything that has been going on because it is a decentralized exchange. If you trade anything on it, and you can trade commodities, and commodities were hot, you will gain a lot of revenue from it because of the fees, the amount of trading volume that is going on in Hyperliquid. And what are you going to use, Binance? It's funny how as soon as Binance lists spot gold and silver, the commodity market just crashes the next day. That was just poetic. Cinema. BitTensor, I'm not expecting this move on it. I just drew this like earlier for whatever reason. But we had the rise all the way up to 200 as expected. Kind of poked above it a little, $208.55. Once again, getting ahead of the move a little bit early. Depends on what Bitcoin does. If Bitcoin, what I was trying to say is, does this, the tensor, of course, should not continue its rise. Ideally. How low can it drop? Wherever super trend line decides to rest, whether that be 150 to 160, maybe. Currently, it's on its way up at 151. I think it's probably going to rest at 160, but we'll have to wait and see. Because we are overshadowed by whatever downtrend line this is from. And then apart from this, we have a massive one over here, but it's a lot of room to run in the very long term. So I don't know, maybe this is just going to continue toward the downside for the time being. I think people are still being cautious with what altcoins they purchase. Another thing I want to look at is Bitcoin dominance. I haven't really looked at that in a while. What do I think for Bitcoin dominance? If this thing could load. BTCD. Here we go, 58%. I mean, yeah, today it's on the way down because of the little rise, a little relief in some of the altcoins. Like I said, getting ahead of the move. But we have hit 60% Bitcoin dominance in recent times. What is this for? February 5. What even happened there? Whoops. Well, just a general drop. I don't know. I mean, Bitcoin had its lowest drop there, right? To 60,000. People were not even selling alts that hard as Bitcoin was being sold on that date. Which is impressive. Some people still believing in the alts here. SUI breaking above $1. This is what I did want to see. It's finally happening. Will I go long here? I don't have money, so I can't. Would I go long here? Yeah, probably. Probably. But I still would want to wait and see what Bitcoin does, of course. And my long position, I don't know, it would look something like this. With however high this goes. I don't know if that's, like, truly reasonable. It's worth the play, though. I don't know, something similar to that. Or if we do get, like, a smaller move like this, then I'd probably be more likely to go long. You know, if Bitcoin does somehow manage to confirm breaking the 72,500, this looks better as a risk-reward ratio with a tighter stop loss with whatever local bottom we get on SUI from the lower high, you know, just continuing the movement of the uptrend on SUI. But to see that happen, you'd have to expect it to go below $1 once again. Psychologically speaking, I don't know how I would feel about that. So yeah, Litecoin, similar to what we're seeing with Solana. Yes, I'm starting to cover Litecoin now, I know. $55.63. Yeah. I've done this analysis for a while. Didn't I go long at some point? I think I went long maybe over here. I don't know, at some weird point I went long. I think it was over here, and then I just got immediately stopped out, which was comical. Cinema. I think it was here. January 12th. Yep, so this uptrend is gone. I'm going to delete that. We do have this downtrend line to worry about mainly because, I mean, it does come from a very long time ago. That's probably the most important one for Litecoin, meaning that a resistance is possible at around 60, I would estimate, based off pivot levels that we might get. Downtrend line, psychologically, $60. You know, see how price reacts from here. I don't expect it to drop. We are very oversold on it. We'll see what happens. Chainlink, $9. Same deal. Right at that super trend. About to flip over. Not that far off. 918 is where that happens. We did hit a high of 920, so it did happen for at least 1 second. But we do need a candle close above that, so... Same deal, wait and see. And a rise to that can give us around $11, I would maybe estimate on Chainlink. We'll see what new pivot levels resistance points are. Hedera, also one of the few that started off its move early, which we caught yesterday. Price is 10 cents. I don't know how really to read all of these numbers, because... I don't know. We hit a low of 7 cents over here. Yeah. I don't know how I truly feel about Hedera yet. I just saw a big move for it. Didn't they had some news come out That was the reason for that rise yesterday. I remember, but I remember somebody telling me about Hedera, why it was rising, and I was like, why did it happen? Enterprise partnership, yeah, it was this. The global logistics leader FedEx joined the Hedera Governing Council. That started circulating the news today, February 14, and it validates Hedera's enterprise-focused strategy and triggered a positive sentiment shift, with social media noting a related 88.42% surge in trading volume. So it's literally specific to Hedera, right? The reason for this move, especially this spike up in price. We hit 1074.8. Current price is 10,276. All right. We'll see if it's sustainable. Same deal with Monero. A lot of these at a critical area. A lot of these altcoins, so just my basic summary for all of these, at critical areas. Some of them already have a premature move to the upside, which could be good, or it could be just a lot more punishing for them if they end up being wrong, depending on what Bitcoin does. Bitcoin's also, I'd say it's close enough to that 72,500. We do have to wait until what next week's volatility can bring, or even Sunday, arguably. I do notice that volatility does tend to kick in a little bit early on Sundays. Now, do we trust those pumps on a weekend? Some argue that no, and you'd maybe be right. Don't we have like a CME gap? I know we're talking about CME gaps in 2026 when those things were supposed to be gone. I mean, we technically do, right? Since the beginning of February, when on Saturday we crashed whatever percent this is, 8% on Bitcoin, we do have a CME gap. I'll draw it out. And that is toward the upside, which is a good thing, okay? I know CME gaps, you hear about them and you're thinking negative stuff. Not for this case. This case looks like a positive one, meaning that, you know, the CME gap does eventually have to be filled, and that would expect a rise to 84,500 Bitcoin. Now, it's just a big meme in the community. It's not like it has to actually rise, but historically speaking, it's happened most of the time. Most of the time. We'll see if it indeed does continue to happen again. And what is this? Do we also have a CME gap here? 95,000? Yeah, a small one, I guess. Friday to Sunday. Yeah, that's a... I feel like it's filled. That's filled already. That tiny... This wick over here, people would argue like it's not filled. I think it's basically filled for now. And if not, I mean, we'll keep an eye on that level if Bitcoin ever does rise to those levels ever again. 95,000. Of course it will, dude. We literally had it last month. Come on. But yeah. From Monero, just waiting for the 370 breakout. That's all I really want. Okay. That is all for the crypto analysis. Let us get into the news. Timestamp is 1824 for my reference. So I know I'm sick to tired of talking about Iran, but we will once again talk about Iran. Nothing too crazy, but apparently the American proposal was rejected by Iran. The Americans proposed that Iran completely cease its enrichment activities for 3 to 5 years, then proceeded with enrichment. Then they can proceed with enrichment at only 1.5% for uranium, right? Iran would have to hand over 400 kilograms of uranium enriched to 60%. The United States would not lift sanctions and would only refrain from attacking Iran. Cool, what's happening in the rest of the world? Yesterday I talked that in Toronto we were expecting a huge rally for the Iranian movement, and that happened. So I don't know why Doug Ford is there too, but he is. He says he stood shoulder to shoulder with thousands in Toronto for the Global Day of Action for Iran. Ontario is home to one of the largest Iranian communities in the world, and we stand firmly with you in your fight for human rights, freedom, and democratic future. Okay, a lot of people were doing this around the world too. This was in Australia, in Melbourne. Largest rally has just taken place for the Global Day of Action. I don't know what this is. A call to action by Iran's exiled Shah and national leader Reza Shah Pahlavi II Iranians are holding massive portraits of Reza Shah too. Yeah, this is the guy that I was talking about. He actually has a Twitter account. I did not know. We'll see what goes on here. Okay, yeah, a lot of people do follow him. Interesting. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what comes of that. Canada also, I don't know why we're getting involved, but here we are. We hit Iran with new sanctions and they say that they will not restore diplomatic ties unless there is regime change in Tehran. Like that's ever going to happen. I don't know. These guys are delaying the Iranians. And in a moment of unity at last, the Prime Minister Mark Carney and leader of the Conservative Party were seen holding hands. Hey, no homo, relax. At the Tumbler Ridge Memorial, the place where the school shooting happened in British Columbia, where that 18-year-old transgender male to female weirdo got unfortunately shot and killed. I think they say 8, 9, or 10 people, injured 20 others, something like that. Devastating. So here they are at a memorial for what took place. On the other side of the planet, Marco Rubio met with the Japanese foreign minister in Munich. This is Germany, right? Motegi is the Japanese foreign minister's name. And they discussed economic collaboration, deterrence, and security cooperation. Okay, Munich, Germany, yes. I'm so good with geography. What else has been going on? Dude, I really don't have that much news. I'm already speeding through it. I'm nervous. Don't worry, we'll be fine. Hillary Clinton, I guess this is new because I'm seeing a lot of clips from this scene. She says that mass migration went too far and that we need to have secure borders. Isn't this literally what the Republicans have always been saying? Well, anyways, how she's still doing the same hand movement in both videos, talking about, well, similar stuff, I guess. She also says that most people were deported under my husband, that is Bill Clinton, and Barack Obama, is what she says, than there were in the first Trump term, or this first year of Trump's second term. You hear that, Trump? Pick up the pace, is what I take away from this. I think she's like trying to say, I don't think the clip is fully shown here, but it's like, we were able to do it as Democrats more efficiently than Trump without killing American citizens, is what it was, because of the deaths of Pretty Good. Now, Trump, of course, he's toning it down, especially because of what's been going on in Minnesota. Even Tom Homan had to step in to kind of like regulate or control his dogs, I guess, was the analogy there. But ultimately, they seem like they will just surrender their efforts and only focus on like actually bad criminals. So we're not getting the mass deportations that, you know, people voted him in for. So I don't know. Not cool, but whatever. What else do we got? President Obama, former President Obama, he also went on this other podcast and they asked him, so are aliens real? And he's like, yeah, they are real. There you go. An ex-president confirming that aliens are real. He says that he's never seen them. There's no such thing as, you know, them being experimented on or hiding secrets about aliens in Area 51. There's no underground facility, unless he was just never informed of it, that they're even hiding this information from the president himself. Hey, maybe they are. At the end of the day, there's this analogy that the presidents are just puppets for the deep state or the people who actually control it, these wealthy families or whatever the case is. So yeah. We have also Bill Maher, some TV show talk host. Some talk host TV show. Did I say that backwards? He went to visit Donald Trump today. Trump says that Bill came to the Oval Office. This is Bill Maher, not, I don't know, Bill Clinton or Bill Gates. This is a different guy, okay? He's just a talk show host. He came to the Oval Office extremely nervous and admitted, I've never felt like this before. I'm actually scared. He said the show quickly returned to very boring anti-Trump and called Bill a highly overrated lightweight suffering from Trump derangement syndrome. Wow, toxic. Here they are at the White House having a nice dinner. And then he posted this Bible of a post, so we're going to read it. Trump says, sometimes in life you waste time. TV host Bill Maher asked to have dinner with me through one of his friends, also a friend of mine, and I agreed. He came into the famed Oval Office much different than I thought he would be. He was extremely nervous and had zero confidence in himself, and to soothe his nerves, immediately within seconds, asked for a vodka tonic. Wow. He said to me, I never felt like this before, I'm actually scared. In one respect, it was somewhat endearing. Anyway, we had a great dinner. It was quick, easy, and he seemed to be a nice guy, and for his first show after our dinner, he was very respectful about our meeting. But with everything I have done in bringing our country back from oblivion, why wouldn't he be? But then I noticed, his show started to devolve into the same old story. Very boring anti-Trump, no mention of the perfect border, lowest crime in 125 years, the mass removal of stone-cold criminals. Hey, where? The 5,000 Dow Jones, the 7,000 S&P 500, both highest ever. I don't think the Dow Jones is there anymore. Yep, it's not there anymore. What do you mean? That's funny, though. I'm just poking fun at him. The least number of murders since 1900. Yeah, all of these are correct, too, by the way. Venezuela, Midnight Hammer, Soleimani dead, al-Baghdadi dead, lowest inflation in years, 1.2% for the last 3 months, the rebuilding of our military, 8 war stoppages, and on and on and on. In any event, it was a total waste of time for me to have this jerk at the White House, and last night, after explaining what a disaster Canadian leaders are to deal with, how Canada has ripped off the United States. Why is Canada being involved in here? For years on trade, but not anymore, I jokingly stated in a post, that the first thing China will do is terminate all ice hockey being played in Canada and permanently eliminate the Stanley Cup. Yeah, we did cover that. Well, he went on and on about the hockey statement, like, what kind of person would say such a foolish thing as this? As though I were being serious when I said it. Okay, nice one. So Trump's a jokester, you know? It's funny. Get it? Fortunately, his television ratings are so low that nobody will learn about his various fake news statements about me. He is no different than Kimmel, Fallon, or Colbert, but I must admit, slightly more talented. Anyway, Bill Maher is a highly overrated lightweight, and Republicans should stop using him to show how the left is coming over our way, our base, the greatest of all times. Laughs at your weakness when you do it. Maher asked me if he could come back to the White House again, and, with his friend, also asked to come to the wonderful White House Christmas party, but he didn't. Regardless, I'd much rather spend my time making America great again than wasting it on him. Bill continues to suffer from a severe case of TDS, Trump derangement syndrome, and there's nothing that will ever be done to cure him of this very serious disease. Thank you for your attention to this minor matter. I don't know if it's a minor matter if you're writing a huge paragraph about it, but hey. Sure, dude. One thing about Bill Maher, I don't watch his show at all. I only watched one episode ever in my life, and it was because I knew one of the people who was on the show. Not personally. It was from a very old meme. You guys know Simon Njala Kagawa, or whatever his name is? You'll probably remember him from the "Why Are You Gay?" Ugandan interview, right? It's a funny one. You should watch it in full because it's actually hysterical. But the transgender activist that was being interviewed by Simon, the Ugandan talk show host, went to the United States, went on Bill Maher's show many years later. It was like 10 years later. And he was talking about like, oh, remember Pepe? That's the name of the transgender woman to man. And actually looks like a man, which is like impressive, but in a weird way. I don't know. Strange, whatever. I'm not going to get into that. But okay, cool. It's I guess it's a man now. Literally looks like a man. It's impressive. So Bill Maher opened the show with that same question. He's like, before we get started, I want to ask you something very important. Why are you gay? Which is just like a throwback, which That was like the, you know, peak moment, haha, funny. And that's the only thing I watched from Bill Maher. I never watched anything else. Maybe some like few clips of him being anti-Trump. I have seen some of those, but that's about it. I really don't watch the guy much. Speaking of clips, I guess here is one talking about crypto, actually, interestingly enough. He says that crypto is the criminal's best friend. I never liked this. I always thought it was a big scam. It is a big scam. It's all money laundering. Crypto is money laundering. You take real money and you buy this fake money, which is a pool of untraceable funds you can do anything with. Not really. It's all transparent. And we'll get into transparency in a moment, but Bitcoin is transparent. It was only made to be a peer-to-peer transaction alternative, right? The fact that you can give money anywhere without limits, without anybody taking control of your assets, right? It is yours, and that's what made Bitcoin unique. Now, then people became to realize it as a store of value due to its max supply, which is what gave it its importance. It's also the first ever of its kind, so that's why, you know, Bitcoin is Bitcoin. It's the strongest. Hello, Pika Pooch. Thank you for the Valentine's wishes. Happy Valentine's Day. So, yeah. And then the thing with Bitcoin, though, is that it's all registered on the blockchain. It's all public. It's all transparent, which it defeats the purpose of criminal activity. And this is where the GOAT, John McAfee, comes in and says, guys, nobody is using Bitcoin on the dark web anymore. We're all using Monero. That is the criminal currency. And I don't know. I kind of like that. Not for any criminal purposes, okay? I don't take part of any of that. I've never purchased Monero in my life. I've never held one of those coins. I never transacted on it. But I like it. Like, the tokenomics are great. Very low inflation, close to none. Arguably deflation. Privacy by default, right? It's not optional like Zcash. Monero is great. So if he is referring to Monero here, yes, that is technically the criminal coin, but not Bitcoin. Bitcoin is safe. Bitcoin's transparent. Bitcoin is easiest to, I guess, get into, arguably understand, although a lot of people will still never understand Bitcoin, which, you know, that's fine, to each their own. But to call it the crypto criminal best friend, I don't know if I really agree with that. The big banks are using crypto, and it's not easy to money launder, right? I don't know. I've never tried it. I would assume it isn't because it's all transparent. That's why we have privacy tokens. And that's why centralized exchanges, banks, governments hate the untraceable private tokens. And that's why private tokens had their surge in the past, because it's private. And that's what people actually value most. And I feel like we should value privacy a lot. So that's my thoughts on it. Moving on, ETFs, finally, turning a little bit green, only a little bit. I'll have a chart pulled up here just to more or less fact check. Where's the ETF flows? So yesterday, okay, that's pathetic. I was hoping we would get some more inflow yesterday. Didn't really get that much, 15 million inflow. And BlackRock actually still ended up with a $9 million outflow. Impressive, BlackRock. What has been going on with ETH and Sol, since we can still track those? Slight inflow yesterday. I don't think this is like revolutionary or game-changing. Sure, at least it's not an outflow, but still. They still also outflowed $9 million in Ethereum, these BlackRock fellows. And Solana, low inflows as well. $1 million inflow, it's pretty pathetic. I don't know. And we don't get to see XRP because I don't know what Farside has against XRP, but it's funny. I'll allow the drama. So, after a stretch of heavy outflows, Bitcoin and Ether ETFs snapped back with net inflows in Friday. Nothing explosive, but broad. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I fully agree with this. We did see we saw better inflows in previous days, and Bitcoin still crashed lower, made lower lows, or decayed overall. So I don't know if this is like a big turnaround event. I don't know if I agree with this. Still, I'll read through it. Bitcoin spot ETFs pulled about $15 million, led by Fidelity. Yep. Ethereum followed with roughly $10 million in inflows, led by Grayscale's Mini Trust. XRP added 4.5 million with zero outflows. Solana ETFs also closed green. ETF flows are the cleanest read on institutional positioning. When price chops and sentiment is fragile, even modest inflows signal that long-only capital is stepping back in instead of capitulating. The volatility has largely been driven by leverage and derivatives. Regulated ETF capital is starting to stabilize. Good. I'm happy for that overall. But I don't think it's like this explosive revolutionary turnaround of events. Maybe it could be the start of something bigger, but how likely is that? Not very likely. What else did I want to discuss? Nice, I'm forgetting. My brain is just dying every day or something. So, deflation. That's another thing because we saw inflation on the decline, or at least in line with what we expected from the economic data that we got yesterday. Part of the reason why we had a bit of a relief. Now, Kathy Wood from ARK Invest says that inflation is closer to 0.8% and heading lower. She's watching real-world signals. Pepsi is cutting prices 15%. Coke admits they're admitting pushback on price hikes. Existing home price growth down to 0.9% year over year. New home prices are already negative. Gasoline is falling, which I've explained the importance of, petroleum prices decreasing, how that would also help decrease inflation. There's a correlation in there. I've done a school project on it, and I got a good grade on it, and I put minimal work in it too, but that's besides the point. Anyways, pricing power is fading. At the same time, AI is driving massive cost compression. Training costs are falling around 75% per year. Inference costs are down 85% or more. That's productivity hitting the system fast. If inflation keeps sliding, the Fed's stance gets harder to justify. Markets move ahead of policy. Liquidity expectations shift before the first cut ever happens. Bitcoin is hypersensitive to liquidity cycles. When the market starts pricing easier policy, it doesn't ease slowly, it actually moves fast. So deflation isn't a doom signal for crypto, it could be the trigger. Good. I don't know, inflation, deflation, what do we truly want here? The money printer on, I guess. Because of the fact that the economy is deflating, because people are not willing to spend more, people are hoarding onto their money, their monetary policy is too restrictive, right? The Fed's got to start incentivizing people to, hey, come on guys, let's get some of the money flowing. Look, I'll reduce the rates, the interest rates, so that you'd be more likely to take out a loan to start spending more money. Or, I don't know, it's not just for personal use, but for governments, for mortgages, for companies, right? To start spending more. And ultimately, if you just got extra cash, you're going to buy Bitcoin with that, won't you? I'm totally not holding a gun to your head. Market structure update. Okay, so we have signs of Democratic support. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent explicitly said that there is a group of Democrats who want to work with Republicans on getting a market structure bill, the Clarity Act. This is maybe the biggest catalyst that we want to see happen in the markets that could spark an uptrend once again, like an actual uptrend, where we maybe hit 100K. He urged quick passage this spring to calm volatile markets and give investors great comfort. Key Senate Democrat Mark Warner, a leading negotiator, stated in a recent hearing that he and others still want the bill to advance. He said, "We want to get this done. It's got to be done safely." He highlighted a big bipartisan group working hard. SEC Chair Paul Atkins has backed it as the best path for future-proof regulation. Prediction markets, they give it about a 62% odd of becoming law by the end of 2026. The odds are in our favor, It reflects optimism, but it's not certain yet, and that's the big issue. I really do indeed hope that this passes, soon, before we keep on delaying it for whatever reasons. Lame excuses every time we delay it. Yeah, we do need this for real, Pika, man. I agree. So, we're expecting that. Bipartisan talks are ongoing, including White House meetings on related issues like stablecoins, which could help resolve sticking points. Why passage might happen soon, we're targeting spring 2026. Besant and others are pushing for it to reach the president's desk this spring amid recent crypto market sell-offs. Clarity could stabilize things. Yes. The bill has momentum from the White House success and Senate committee progress. What am I reading? A core group of Democrats appears open and positive. Year 4 could refer to specific negotiators like Warner or others in the working group, even if the full caucus isn't unified yet. We'll see. Of course, wishing for the best on this. We have Brian Armstrong yapping over here, so what does he say? I'm confident we can achieve a market structure win-win that advances the president's crypto agenda while addressing the concerns of our banks. Did I read this before? I feel like I might have. This was posted February 12th. Our focus throughout will be to advocate for what's best for crypto users. We are all in. We were the first ones fighting for market structure before it was popular, and we're staying at the table. The genius passed 6 months ago, and it's now being re-litigated. That deeply impacts our customers. Coinbase attended both recent White House meetings, and the crypto industry is aligned. We're making good progress towards reaching a win-win-win between the White House, banks, and crypto. And we'll keep advocating for what's best for crypto users, especially core consumer benefits like rewards. Yeah, you better. And then he posted, yesterday, I guess, ironically, if a crypto rewards ban went into law, it would make us more profitable, since we pay out large amounts in rewards to our customers holding USDC. But we don't want this to happen. It's better for customers to get rewards, and it's better for us, for the US, to keep regulated stablecoins competitive on a global stage. We're not a charity, and Coinbase stands to benefit the program of growth. La 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 la. Okay, relax. Yeah, so that's the Clarity Act. So let's hope it passes soon. What else do we got? Eric Trump's American Bitcoin Company. They've just crossed 6,000 Bitcoins in holdings, making them one of the top 20 largest public Bitcoin holders in the world. Far past that darn company. What's it called? GameStop. Their stock price is not working. I mean, any stock that is holding Bitcoin right now as a treasury, you don't got to go too far. Look at MicroStrategy. They're doing pretty poorly. So it's a good start, though, especially at these prices if he's accumulating. Great. I did hear that, like, there might be some minor capitulation going on as well. Or, I don't know, something about the exhaustion of miners because Bitcoin's price is so low, they can't afford to, keep paying up the costs. They will ultimately shut off their Bitcoin mining facilities until either Bitcoin's price catches up, or they will, I guess, hopefully not, sell their Bitcoins more. Now, pausing the mining will obviously stop the supply from increasing until Bitcoin's price catches up, which arguably could be a good thing and potential bottom indicator from bear markets historically, right? That's just one thing I've noticed. If I had to guess, do I think it'll pass through the Senate by end of spring or not until 2027? I do think it will by end of spring. I'm going to be optimistic about it. By 2027 would be brutal, man. I really hope that does not happen. Didn't they mention that they were going on, like, some sort of recess for, like, the summer? That would just push things to, like, end of year, and then, I don't know, something stupid is going to delay it again, like maybe another shutdown. Yeah, I just don't want to roll the dice on that. I just wanted to, get it passed as soon as possible. So, I'm going to go with the spring. I do hope it gets passed by then. So, yeah. That's my thoughts on all that. Citi, the bank, $2 trillion of assets under management. They have partnered with a company called Medico for digital asset custody. And that company, Medico, is a platform owned by Ripple, XRP. So another major institution tapping into XRP-linked infrastructure. Good. How does this impact XRP? Not at all. Oh. It was acquired by Ripple Labs in May 2023 for $250 million. So Citi is using Medico's technology, and that does connect them to Ripple's ecosystem. But it does not pump the price whatsoever. No one cares. Oh, BTC 100K by summer? I hope so. I really do. I really feel like we should. Like, what's the actual pushback against this? War with Iran should happen by summer, I'm hoping. No, I actually don't. I don't hope for war, okay? That's not what I meant. Just get it resolved or prolong the thing like we're prolonging Russia-Ukraine war, you know. Anything that happens in Russia-Ukraine war is so irrelevant that nobody cares about it anymore. Back in the day, it did have an impact on the price. Nowadays, not so much anymore, right? So I feel like that same thing might happen, hopefully, with the Middle East, where nobody cares about it, and we'll just allow crypto to pump. Rate cuts should also catalyze it. Clarity Act getting passed, hopefully, would be the best catalyst for it, to have Bitcoin rising to 100K again. This is XRP, by the way, slowing down over here at this downtrend line. So, once again, potential fake out. We'll see. And like I said, any altcoin type movement depends on what Bitcoin does over here with 72,500. Okay. This was out a while ago from Nancy Mace. She's a congresswoman that's been advocating for the release of the Epstein files, along with Thomas Massie, Lauren Boebert, and Marjorie Taylor Greene, among the Republicans. And of course, working with the Democratic Ro Khanna, right? To get the Epstein files released. So yes, we'll be talking about the Transparency Act here now. She says that she has seen the names of rich and powerful people, including some in the media in the Epstein files, and accuses the DOJ of protecting them. I think this got to them eventually. Everybody's been making noise about this whole Epstein case, to the point where today they finally did something about it, which we'll get into. Nancy Mace says that the Epstein case will go down as one of the greatest cover-ups in American history. There's famous people, rich people, people in power, prime ministers, former presidents, etc., media personalities. So what are the names? We're getting them. Attorney General Pam Bondi just unleashed the full Epstein files under the Transparency Act. I don't think that's all of them. Wasn't there 6 million? Okay, 3.5 million pages dropped. Redactions justified only for victims. So we're getting a lot of previous redactions unredacted now. High-profile names exposed with zero cover-ups for embarrassment or politics. So now we're getting the real sauce. At least that's what we're expecting. No records withheld or redacted based on embarrassment, reputational harm, or political sensitivity to any official public figure or foreign dignitary. Huge backfire on the left. Powerful Dems like Bill Clinton mentioned 1,193 times, and others are busted, while fake smears against Trump called out as BS. Vindication for Trump? We'll see. Why is it literally the one-to-one? What are you doing? One-to-one, same post. Anyway. So the Department of Justice also submitted this letter to Congress explaining its reasons for redacting the portions of the Epstein files, because that's something that everybody did ask. Why were a lot of these people's names redacted? They're literally saying these weird stuff. I love the torture video. Age 11. I don't remember what else. Names that shouldn't be redacted. You should only be redacting the victims' names, not the predators, evil people. I don't know what to call them. The politically exposed persons. Oh no. And it also contains a list of all those people referenced in the records. Crazy. Here's the full letter if you care to pause and read. Be my guest. I will not be reading all that. I'm sorry that happened, or I'm happy for you. And here is a huge list of names. Jay-Z. Let me see if I recognize any of these. Steve Bannon, Beyonce, Hunter Biden, Leon Black, Anthony Blinken, Pam Bondi. What? Why is Pam Bondi here? Maybe that's why she's been hiding it. That's funny. George W. Bush, Bill Clinton, George Clooney, Bill Cosby, Alan Dershowitz. I'm sure there's like a huge other list of names somewhere else. Bill Gates, Michael Flynn, Nikki Haley. Don't know any of those people. Miriam Adelson, Alec Baldwin, Jeff Bezos, Jill Biden. Oh no. Oh, there's Joe Biden too. Oh, I see how the list is. It's like red like this. What a weird way to format it. Okay. Dan Bongino, FBI guy, by the way. No longer. Tony Blair. Jeb Bush. Yeah, these names are all Jeffrey Epstein. Wow, big surprise. Elizabeth II. Is this the Queen Elizabeth that we're thinking of? No way. She would never. How could she? Melinda Gates. Kamala Harris. Why are these people mentioned in here? Jay-Z, like I said. Michael Jackson. Yeah, no surprise. Not that all of these people are criminals, so to speak, but they're just named on here. Individuals mentioned in a portion of a document that on its face is unrelated to Epstein and Maxwell matters. Oh, so these people are unrelated. Yeah, sure, dude. Who is Ashley Biden? Probably the daughter, I think, of Joe Biden. John Bolton, Todd Blanche, George Bush, the other George Bush, Tucker Carlson, Dick Cheney, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton was also there, James Comey, this is the other FBI guy. My eyes are killing me, dude. I cannot stand the white theme, the light theme. Lindsey Graham, Reid Hoffman, Michael Horowitz, Mike Huckabee, and that's all I could really tell. Alright, sorry for that extensive list, but yeah. Oh, here's a lot more. Okay, there's a lot more. Crazy. DOJ just sent Congress the official Epstein name list. Attorney General Pam Bondi and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche have submitted a 6-page letter to the House and Senate Judiciary Committees under Section 3 of the Epstein Files Transparency Act, which requires a full accounting of redactions made and a list of every government official and politically exposed person named in the released files. So the presidents, of course, Donald, Melania, Ivanka Trump, Jill, Hunter, Ashley Biden, Barack, Michelle Obama, Bill and Hillary Clinton, Chelsea Clinton, I don't know who that is, J.D. Vance, what? George Bush Jr., Jeb Bush, okay. I'm sure there was a lot more. Here's a whole list. I'm not going to read all of it. It's a huge list. The letter is now in the hands of both parties. A redacted sender calls out some interesting people as being killers to Epstein. Oh, how old is this? No, it's recent. An interior designer architect was hired by Epstein to remodel his home on Little St. James Island. Okay. I'm sure we've got more stuff, right? By the way, this happened too. Norway is the first country to arrest an Epstein associate, which is the ex-Prime Minister Thorbjorn Jagland. Okay, well, there you go. Something is happening at last. Don't watch this meme. Here's more, I guess. This is like recent stuff that's like actually coming out. I don't know who this is. Kelly Dyer. Yeah, and then it's just the same stuff that we've been seeing. Okay, never mind. Nothing important here. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's it for now. So we just got a lot of names that got released. I don't think we have the full unredacted Epstein files. Not the full unredacted ones. Of course, the victims will stay redacted. But I don't know. We'll see what comes of that. Well, I guess we'll get updates as time goes on. All right. I think really that's it. There's not much else really going on this Saturday. Decent move for Bitcoin, you know, trying to go above 70K. I'll just reiterate the importance of 72,500 and that how that would influence the rest of the altcoin movements. That's my last thing that I will leave you guys with in terms of Bitcoin movement. If we do manage to break that, expect 80K. If we don't, well, double bottom or new low. And I really hope that does not happen because my money's on the line, you know? It would be nice to not lose money, at least once in a while. So yeah, that's all for tonight, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like and subscribe as always. I will see you tomorrow then. We'll see what surprises we get. New pivot levels tomorrow. That's just going to be the biggest thing that I could really think of. And for ETH, I mentioned, you know, 2,150 is the important level. We break that, it's 2,400. If not, we continue to potential double bottom or lower to 1,1600. I still believe that for ETH. Same deal. But tomorrow's pivot levels will just confirm how high we could expect Ethereum. Or literally any other altcoin. We're getting new pivot levels for everything, so we're going to have to see how it behaves, especially towards whatever downtrend line we're about to approach, and the big dogs. That will influence the rest of the altcoin movements as well. Alright guys, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed. I'll see you tomorrow then. Have a good rest of your evening, have a happy Valentine's Day, and have a good long weekend. It's family day on Monday, so